Fatima was a beautiful, smart, and well-behaved lady raised by her loving parents, Baba Sani and Mama Aisha, in the heart of Kano State. Her parents taught her to be respectful, content, and hardworking. Their modest lifestyle was enough for their happy family. One evening, Fatima ran home with excitement written all over her face. Her heart was pounding with joy. "Mama, Baba, I got it. I got admission to study international relations at the University of Abuja," she screamed as she entered the house. Her parents' faces lit up with pride. Baba Sani's eyes grew misty as he said, "Thank you, Allah. My daughter is going to the university." Mama Aisha hugged Fatima tightly, her heart swelling with joy. Preparations began immediately. Clothes were sewn, bags were packed, and advice was shared. "You must never forget who you are, Fatima," Mama Aisha reminded her while folding her clothes. "Respect people, stay focused on your studies, and never be deceived by worldly things." Fatima nodded, promising to make them proud. She had never left Kano before, so going to Abuja felt like entering a new world. When Fatima arrived at the University of Abuja, her heart pounded with both fear and excitement. The school was grand, with big gates and well-dressed students walking in and out. Ladies wore fancy clothes, boys drove flashy cars, and the campus building stood tall and majestic. She glanced at the paper in her hand that showed her faculty name and direction. Her eyes stayed fixed on it as she walked, trying not to miss her way. Suddenly, bam, she bumped into someone. "Oh, I'm so sorry, Ma. Please forgive me," Fatima said, bowing respectfully, thinking she had run into a lecturer. The lady she bumped into removed her sunglasses and raised an eyebrow. She was a tall, fair-skinned lady with long, silky hair, wearing designer clothes that sparkled under the sun. Her nails were perfectly done, and her handbag was the kind Fatima had only seen on TV. The lady tilted her head and gave Fatima a long stare. "Ma, do I look that old to you?" she said with a smirk, then walked off like a queen, her high heels tapping against the pavement. Fatima's face turned red with embarrassment. I thought she was a lecturer," she muttered to herself. When she entered her classroom and took her seat, she couldn't wait for the lecturer to arrive. Soon, a tall, confident man with glasses walked in and began the lecture. Fatima sat upright, her eyes glued to him. But as she took notes, the classroom door opened. The lecturer she had bumped into earlier walked in, her steps as elegant as ever. She walked straight toward Fatima and sat beside her. Fatima's heart skipped a beat. "What? Is she on my level?" she gasped quietly. Her cheeks felt hot, and she focused on her notebook, hoping the lady wouldn't recognize her. After the day's lectures, Fatima returned to her hostel room. It was small, with 2 single beds, a table, and a chair. Her side of the room was simple, with just a small student mattress, her box of clothes, and a mat Mama Aisha had packed for her. Her roommate, Gloria, was already there. "How was your first day?" Gloria asked, adjusting her books on the table. Fatima sighed. "I embarrassed myself. I mistook a student for a lecturer. She was so elegant, I thought she was a staff member." Gloria laughed, shaking her head. "You haven't seen anything yet, Fatima. Wait until 3 weeks before exams. That's when the rich lattice finally show up on campus. All their flashy cars, clothes, and bags will be on display. You'll think a fashion show is happening in front of the lecture hall." Fatima laughed too, but a little fear sat in her heart. Would she fit in with such people? Weeks passed, and life on campus became more serious. Lecturers were dishing out assignments, and exams were fast approaching. Fatima had been managing her simple lifestyle well, but one day, she noticed her hair had become rough. "I need to do something about this hair," she thought. On her way back from class, she spotted a hair salon. It was flashy, with large glass windows, stylish posters of women with long hair, and a bold sign that read "Luxury Hair Lounge." Curious, she decided to step in. The inside was like a wonderland. Expensive wigs hung neatly on display. The air smelled of hair cream and luxury perfume. Women sat on plush chairs as stylists carefully installed beautiful wigs on their heads. The way they looked so comfortable made Fatima feel a little out of place. A lady with shiny, curly hair approached her. "Welcome, sister. What hairstyle would you like?" "Just cornrows, please," Fatima replied, glancing around nervously. The stylist nodded and guided her to a seat. As the stylist braided her hair, Fatima admired the women around her. Their wigs looked like pure gold, their nails sparkled, and their phones never stopped ringing. Fatima wondered what it would feel like to be like them, so elegant, so admired. Finally, the stylist finished. Fatima smiled, touching her neat cornrows. "How much is it, please?" she asked. 15,000 naira, the stylist replied, adjusting her apron. 15,000 naira? Fatima's heart sank. Her father, Baba Sani, had given her only 10,000 naira for the whole semester. Her body tensed with panic. I don't have that much money," she stammered, her cheeks turning red. She opened her purse and saw only a few crumpled naira notes. The stylist frowned. "You don't have money? Then why did you come here?" Her loud voice caught the attention of everyone in the salon. Laughter filled the room. "Village lady," one lady whispered, rolling her eyes. Another lady giggled, whispering to her friend. Fatima wanted to disappear. But then, a soft, calm voice spoke up. "I'll pay for her." Everyone turned to see a beautiful, caramel-skinned lady. She had long, straight hair that reached her waist, a designer bag, and a calm smile. She looked like a queen. The stylist's face brightened. Sister Flora, welcome." Flora nodded and handed the stylist her card. "Add it to my bill," she said casually. Fatima looked at Flora with wide, grateful eyes. "Thank you so much, Ma. I don't know how to thank you." Flora smiled warmly. "No need for all that. It's just cornrows. Next time, check the price before you sit down, okay?" Her eyes twinkled with humor. "Yes, Ma," Fatima replied, bowing her head like she was talking to royalty. "I see you're a new student. Take my number," Flora said, typing it into Fatima's phone. "If you ever need anything, call me. And by the way, I'm Flora, cut off the Ma." Fatima nodded eagerly. "Thank you so much. May Allah bless you." Fatima watched as Flora strode out of the salon, her heels clicking softly on the tiled floor. She entered a sleek black car, waved at Fatima, and drove off. Fatima stared at the number saved on her phone as she walked back to her hostel. Her roommate Gloria was waiting for her. "How was your salon visit?" Gloria asked, raising her eyebrows. Gloria, you won't believe it," Fatima said, her face glowing with excitement. "I met a lady so kind, so rich. She paid for my hair and even gave me her number." Gloria shook her head, laughing. "Fatima, welcome to campus life. You're just getting started." As Fatima lay on her mattress that night, she stared at Flora's number. Her heart swelled with thoughts of Flora's elegant lifestyle, her beautiful clothes, her sleek car, her confidence. What would it feel like to live like that? She wondered, her eyes slowly closing. Her phone buzzed, and she smiled as she saw Flora's message. "Hey, hope you're good. Do take care." Fatima hugged her pillow. "I will, inshallah," she whispered. Fatima's life changed quickly after she met Flora. At first, it was an innocent friendship. Flora, a second-year student studying criminal law, had a lifestyle that dazzled Fatima. She always wore the latest clothes, had the newest phones, and drove in big cars. At first, Fatima thought Flora's parents were rich, but she later learned that Flora had sponsors, older rich men people called sugar daddies. These men gave her money, cars, and luxury items in exchange for her time and attention. "Fatima, why suffer when life can be sweet?" Flora said one day, tossing her long, silky wig over her shoulder. "You're too pretty to be struggling on campus." Fatima hesitated at first, remembering Mama Aisha's warning to stay focused. But as days passed, she watched Flora's lavish lifestyle with envy. Slowly, she started following Flora's path. She changed from the modest, simple lady she once was to a Gen Z baddie, known for her fancy clothes, latest phones, and long, expensive wigs. She moved from party to party, attending every event where big boys were present. Life was now making sense to her. The years rolled by fast. Fatima and Flora graduated together and were both posted to Abuja for their National Youth Service Corps, NYSC. Their connections on campus helped them secure postings in the city, and they decided to rent an apartment together as flatmates. While Fatima and Flora lived the big lady lifestyle, Gloria, Fatima's former roommate, had chosen a different path. After NYSC, she married a man named Raymond. Ironically, Raymond was one of the men who had once asked Fatima for her hand in marriage, but she had turned him down, saying, "He's not my type." Imagine, Gloria married that broke guy, Raymond. Flora laughed one evening as they painted their nails in the living room. "You dodged a bullet, Fatima." But something in Fatima's heart felt uneasy. She masked it with laughter, but secretly wondered if Gloria had made the wiser choice. Years passed, and life after NYSC became more serious. Parties became fewer, and Fatima and Flora realized that many of the older men who once showered them with gifts had moved on to younger lattice. The sugar daddies were no longer as generous as before. "We need to settle down, Fatima," Flora said one day, stretching on the couch. "All these baby lattice on campus have taken over. The big men are following them now." Fatima agreed. They both decided it was time to search for serious men to marry. But something strange happened. No one was coming. Unlike Gloria, who had settled with Raymond, Fatima and Flora struggled to find suitors. The big boys and alhajis they once danced with at parties didn't see them as marriage material. One afternoon, Flora went to a gold store to buy some jewelry. There, she met a handsome, wealthy man named Nura. His well-trimmed beard and charming smile caught her attention. He owned the gold store and had a calm, commanding presence that Flora liked. When she got home, she couldn't stop talking about him. "Fatima, I have met the real Odogwu. This one is not like the others. He's smart, rich, and fine." Fatima laughed. "Are you sure this time, Flora? You've said this about 5 different men already." But Flora wasn't joking. Weeks passed, and she kept talking about Nura, calling him Al-Haji with admiration in her voice. Soon after, Flora announced her engagement to him. Fatima felt jealousy rise in her chest like hot steam. "How can a lady like Flora get engaged while I'm still here waiting?" she thought. Every night, she wondered how Flora could have been so lucky. One morning, while Flora was in the shower, Fatima saw Flora's phone on the bed. She picked up the phone and quickly copied the number saved as Al-Haji into her own phone. "Let me see if this Al-Haji is as special as she says," Fatima muttered to herself. She sent him a message, pretending to be Flora at first, but later revealed her identity. Surprisingly, Al-Haji responded warmly. They began chatting daily, and within a week, he invited her to visit his mansion. When Fatima arrived at the address, her jaw dropped. It was a gigantic mansion with tall gates, guards, and luxury cars parked in front. She smiled to herself. "I've hit the jackpot," she thought. The housekeeper let her in, and soon, Al-Haji appeared. But something was off. The man before her was not the young, handsome Nura Flora had described. This man was much older, with a big pot belly and a rough beard. So you're the famous Fatima," he said with a wide grin. His smile made her uncomfortable, but she told herself, "What do I have to lose?" Dinner was lavish, and Al-Haji was kind to her. By midnight, Fatima was feeling at ease. She went to bed, thinking she had finally secured her future. But at midnight, she woke up and noticed Al-Haji wasn't beside her. She looked around the room and checked every bedroom, but he was nowhere to be found. Where did this man go? She wondered. Her curiosity got the best of her, and she tiptoed downstairs. That's when she heard strange noises. Her heart began to pound. She followed the sound until she saw a door slightly open. Peeking through, she froze in terror. There was Al-Haji, chopping large chunks of red meat. Her eyes widened in horror as she realized it wasn't ordinary meat. They were human parts. Her breath caught in her throat. Then she heard it. "Get her," a voice growled from behind. Her heart jumped, and she bolted toward the door, running as fast as she could. She didn't make it far. Two strong men grabbed her from behind. She screamed and begged for mercy. "Please. I didn't see anything. Let me go," she cried. Al-Haji walked slowly toward her, his eyes cold as ice. "Lock her up," he ordered. The men dragged her to a small, dark room and threw her inside. She banged on the door, screaming, "Please. I'm sorry. Somebody help me." Minutes later, she heard footsteps. Her heart raced. The door swung open, and there stood Flora, but she wasn't alone. Police officers stormed the mansion, arresting Al-Haji and his men. Fatima's knees gave way, and she slumped to the ground, crying. Flora's eyes widened when she saw Fatima. "What are you doing here?" she asked in disbelief. Tears streamed down Fatima's face. "I'm sorry, Flora. I was jealous of you. I stole Al-Haji's contact from your phone." Flora's eyes darkened, but then she burst into laughter. "You actually stole the wrong Al-Haji's contact, Fatima. The Al-Haji I'm engaged to is Noura, not this monster, Danjuma. I've been working with the police for months to bring him down." Fatima's heart shattered into pieces. She realized that her greed had pushed her into danger. As the police led Danjuma away in handcuffs, Flora walked past Fatima, but then she stopped. "By the way," she said with a smirk, "my wedding is in 2 weeks. You're invited." Fatima sniffled, her heart heavy with regret. Flora leaned in closer. "And just so you know, I call Noura Odigwa and Al-Haji not because of his money, but because," she leaned in and whispered, "he's big down there." She winked and walked off. Fatima sat on the cold ground, her eyes blank with regret. "I have made the most foolish mistake of my life," she thought. Years passed. Flora got married, had children, and built a happy home. Gloria's husband, Raymond, also rose to become a successful businessman. But Fatima's story was different. No suitor came for her. She had spent her youthful years chasing luxury, but now, even her beauty had faded. No more Al-Hajis. No more flashy cars. No husband. She sat alone in her small apartment, staring at old pictures of herself in wigs and party dresses. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "If only I had chosen a different path." And that is how life taught Fatima the hardest lesson of all.